Okay, Algebra 1, here we go with the 3-2 notes. Let's first of all go back to something that we have done a little while ago, and that's basically just solving for a variable. This is kind of like putting last section stuff together with things that we did earlier where we plugged some numbers in. So if I plug 9 in here for x, I want to know what will the y value be. So if I plug 9 in for x, there's my first step. I'm just replacing the x with a 9. So I have 2 over 3 times 9 minus y equals a negative 4. So you break out your calculator if you're not good with multiplying fractions by whole numbers. 2 over 3 times 9 will give you 6, right? If we do this without a calculator, basically what we're doing is we're going to say this is like 9 over 1. So 2 times 9 is 18 over 3. So you could look at it that way, like 18 over 3, which is 6. Or we could say 3 goes into 9 3 times. 2 times 3 is 6. There's two different ways to do it if you're not using a calculator. But if you just use your calculator, you're just going to plug that in. So I have 6 minus y equals negative 4. My negative sign kind of ran into my equal sign there. Now, move the 6 over, so we're going to subtract 6 from both sides. 6 minus 6 is 0, so these are gone. Over here, negative 4 minus 6 is a negative 10. And then we want to, when we bring down the negative y, we want to get y by itself, so we divide both sides by negative 1. And we end up with negative 10 divided by negative 1 is 10. So now, basically what we just did here was we found an ordered pair for our answer. Everything that we've done so far was one-dimensional. We only had one answer, just like x equals a number, or n equals a number, or t equals a number, or whatever the variable was. But now we have two parts to our answer. We were given the x value of 9, and we just solved for the y value of 10. So to lead into my next slide, this would look like, our answer would look like this, 9, 10. So it would look like a pair, like a point on our graph. An ordered pair is what this is called. This is your x value, and this is your y value. Okay, we were given the x value, and we just solved for the y value. So basically what we're going to be doing today is we're just interpreting and solving some solutions that have two variables. So something like this, x plus y equals 6, that's an equation that has two variables. So our answer cannot just be like x equals 3 or y equals 4 or something like that. We actually need to have two solutions to this. And basically what we do is we could pick a number for x. X is called our independent variable. Okay, x is independent, y is dependent. And we say that mainly because y is dependent on what we choose for x. And we'll get into that stuff later on as well. So let's say if x is 0, then when we plug 0 in here, y would be equal to 6. That's where this ordered pair 0, 6 comes from. Or if I plug in 3 for x, 3 plus 3 gives me 6. That's where this ordered pair comes from. And you could choose any number you would like for x. Like we could say x equals 20, and if x is 20, then what's y? And that would be a negative 14. So you could choose any numbers for x and plug it in and solve for y. Vice versa, you could choose any number for y and plug it in and solve for x, okay? But what we are doing today is we're going to use these values, use these numbers, and answer them in some real world, just some context problems that actually relate to something. So let's go ahead and get started on this, and we'll see what we can do here. So now, first of all, whenever we have word problems, we always want to underline the important information, okay? I'm sure that's something that you were told at some point in time, but whenever you see some important information, you want to underline it or highlight it or something, make it stand out, okay? So she spent $10 at the ice cream truck. X represents ice cream cones, and Y represents the sundaes. So this equation here shows the relationship between the number of ice cream cones and the number of sundaes she bought. So 3x plus 4y equals 10. Now look, if they did not buy any sundaes, and this was all ice cream cones, you can see that when we try to solve that, we're going to end up with a decimal, so we know that that's not correct. But basically, this is saying here the ordered pair 2, 1 is the solution. What does 2 represent? So remember that this ordered pair is in the form of x, y. So that means 2 is x and y is 1. So if I come up here, x was ice cream cones. So if x is ice cream cones and x is 2, then that means that they bought 2 ice cream cones. 1 is my y value, and I also know that y represents sundaes. So that means Jane bought 1 sundae. So 2 ice cream cones and 1 sundae. Now, if you look at this problem, you also know, you aren't told, but you know how much they cost. Okay, you know that the total cost was $10. 2 ice cream cones and 1 sundae. If we plug those in there, 3 times 2 is 6, plus 4 times 1 is 4, equals 10. So 6 plus 4 is 10. The cost of these, the ice cream was $3, and the sundae was 4. Okay, so, we did know that in the problem, even though we weren't told that outright. We could figure that out from some of the context that we're given in this problem. All right, B. A car dealership has 40 cars in stock. We want to start with that. They're starting out with 40. So then the manufacturer is going to deliver new cars to the dealership by carrier. You've probably seen these down the road, the trucks that have all the cars on them. So each carrier holds 6 cars. The equation below shows the relationship between X, which is the number of car carriers, okay, not the number of cars, that's car carriers. 1 car carrier has 6 cars. And Y, let me underline that, well, X. And then Y is the total number of cars. Okay, so that's your total cars. Okay, so let's think about this for a second. They started out with 40 cars, right? They started with 40 cars. Let's say 1 car carrier shows up. 1 car carrier has 6 cars. So if they started with 40, 1 car carrier shows up with 6, now they have 46. If 2 car carriers show up, then that means there are 12 additional cars. 12 plus 40 would be a total of 52 cars. And we could do this over and over and over again. So we want to know, what does this ordered pair 464 represent? We know it's a solution, but what does it represent? So remember, 4 is your X, 64 is your Y. So, whoops, this is freaking out. So what does X represent in this? That's not my eraser. What does X represent in this context? Well, if we look up at the problem, we know that X represents the number of car carriers. Okay, so that means 4 car carriers show up, right? We're told that right here. 4 car carriers show up. Okay, so 4 car carriers show up. That means there's a total of, if we multiply that by 6, that means 24 new cars have showed up. Or shown up. So what does 64 represent? Well, we know from the context of this problem that 64 represents the total number of cars on the lot. 64. So look right here. 24 new cars showed up. We know there were 40 to begin with. Okay, 40 cars to begin with. So 40 plus 24 is 64. So what we need to do is we need to write what this means, okay? So we're going to do a little bit of writing, not a ton, but we'll do a little bit of writing here. And we just want to say, what does this represent? So 4 car carriers show up carrying, 6 cars each. There is now a total of 64 cars on the lot. Okay, so again, you want to just say something like that. You want to make sure you include all the details, but not ramble on. Make sure you're writing in complete sentences. You shouldn't just say 24 cars, 64 cars on the lot, or 4 car carriers, 64 cars. You want to make sure you're writing in complete sentences. And say what you got to say, but don't ramble on in a bunch of other stuff. So there you go for B. C. Same type of solution that we're going to have here. We're going to write a short sentence, but let's go through this first and pick out the important pieces of information. So Students in ninth grade class sold tubs of cookie dough, which is X. Okay, cookie dough is X. And frozen pizzas, which is going to be Y. So you guys, if you did like the Little Caesars stuff or, those fundraisers that you do for your class, you've seen something similar to this. Holly spent a total of $36 on fundraiser items. So 36 was the total amount. You can see that number right here. And this equation represents that. We want to know, what does the ordered pair 0, 9 represent? So 0 is your X, right? 0 is the X. And then Y is 9. Okay, so Y is our 9. So what does that mean in the context of this problem? That means they bought 0, X, which X represents cookie dough. And they bought 9, Y, and Y is frozen pizza. Okay, so 0x, 9y. So we need to write our answer here, okay? So again, let's type this out. We want to write down, what does this represent? Holly bought 9 frozen pizzas and no cookie dough. Okay? We've said everything that we need to say. We're very short and to the point, but we've also written this in complete sentences. Okay, now if we look up here in the context of the problem, I know this is like an extra thing here. This is your answer, what I wrote down here. But an extra thing that I just want to throw in here is that we can see here from this 9 right here, this represents the cost of the cookie dough. So the cookie dough was $9 for a tub. And 4y means that the frozen pizzas were $4 each. So again, just something else I wanted to throw in there, a little extra explanation. But this right here is your answer. Holly bought 9 frozen pizzas and no cookie dough. Or something along those lines. It doesn't have to be that exactly like that. So, okay, here, one more. The drama club plans to attend a professional production. So they want to go to like Broadway or something like that. And they have a one-time handling fee of $3. Okay? So if you've ever bought tickets online, you may have seen this, these fees that at the end of the transaction, there's like, you owe $5 or whatever for the fee. Sometimes it's per ticket. Some websites, it's just a flat fee regardless of how many tickets you purchase. It's $3, okay? So the number of students going is X. So the students going is X, okay? Maybe I should say the number. We'll include that in there also. The number of students going is X. And then the total cost of the trip is Y. So before we answer this question, can you tell me how much were each of the tickets? Think about that for a second. How much did each of the tickets cost? And the answer here is $27. So 27 times X. So if there are 2 students going, that would be $54 plus 3 would be $57 would be the total cost of the trip. Okay? So here our ordered pair. We know that the total cost is $273. We also know that X is 10. What does X represent? X represents the number of students going. So the number of students going is 10, so there's 10 students going. So the cost of the tickets, 27 times 10, will be $270, and then we have that $3 handling fee. Okay, so one more time, let's write this out. There are 10 students attending the production. The total cost is $273. You can fit that all on one line. All right, there we go. There's your final answer. Okay, so again, like always, if you have any questions, please let me know. Rewind through some of this. You may need to watch them a couple of times till it finally clicks, because I know sometimes the word problems are confusing. But underlining and highlighting important information is one of the best pieces of information that you will get, not only from me, but also your English, social studies teachers. Underlining important information is always a good thing to do. It's a good skill to have and learn at an early age. especially like if you plan to attend college, being able to look through and read through your books and pick out the important information. It's a good skill to have. So we want to teach that here and stress the importance of that here. So yeah, if you have any questions on this, please let me know. And send me an email or a private comment and I will get back to you.